All right, we are live. Well, hello everyone. This is Warrior Woman 91, and I'm very excited to be broadcasting to you live from the conservative underground in the socialist state of California. It's very hard to find young conservatives in California, so I had to scrounge them out from wherever I could find them, hiding under rocks and up in trees and all the rest of it. But I have here today at least 3 and hopefully 4 people that are going to be discussing the California primary. Today we have Pardes and Aaron from the Daily Wire down in Southern California. We're supposed to have Kyle. Kyle, if you don't show up, I'm going to beat you over the head. And he's from the San Francisco Bay Area whenever he feels the need to show up. And then we have Steve and Taylor. And I don't know, do you mind if I call you Steve or whichever you prefer?
I don't care.
Okay. And you're from Sacramento, I believe. Is that correct? All right, so I'm very happy to have you guys on. First, a little housekeeping, though. Please direct all death threats, alt-right memes, and marriage proposals to the comment section, and I will not read them, and I can guarantee I will not read them or respond. But if you have any questions, you can ask them to me after read them, and hopefully we will answer them live on air. So today we are going to be discussing and why... this is why I've endeavored to find as many conservative millennials as I possibly can to talk about this, because we're an endangered species and we're dying out quickly. So let's just have Stephen introduce himself real quick because he's new. Just tell us who you are and tell us that you are still in high school, or are you graduated? Or
I graduated this year. Yeah, I graduated.
Yeah. And go ahead. We got a little bit of lag.
Oh, did you just want me to?
Yeah, just tell us about yourself.
Okay. So I graduated this year. I'm a senior. I'm going to American University in DC next fall, and I've been interested in politics for about 3 or 4 years now. I don't know. I had a liberal phase from ages 10 to 12, and then I loved my mom a little bit, and verbally, and I kind of did my own research and went from there, and now I'm conservative.
That's awesome. It's very difficult to remain conservative in California because it's the way they hate us. They really do, and they make it very difficult, especially when you go to college here. So. A little bit about what happened at UCLA, but why don't you just fill in our audience of the aftermath? Exactly what was it that happened? How many people were killed? That kind of thing down in UCLA.
Right. So what happened was at approximately 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, a man called Maynak Sarkar basically went into the engineering building in UCLA after his professor, Professor William Clark, and shot him, then shot himself. And it led the entire UCLA campus into a frenzy. The FBI, police, SWAT team, everybody was here. All news reporters were here and investigating what happened. So basically 2 people ended up dead. One was the murderer, and one was the person he was after. And it was ruled a murder-suicide. And it became an issue in the elections also, because a lot of people were trying to figure out if Sarkar was a terrorist, or was it an act of terrorism, or was it just a personal thing that he had with his professor. And so that's how it related to the elections.
Now, was there another professor? I thought I saw somewhere that there was another professor that was going to be targeted, but then obviously the guy killed himself. Were there other targets?
Yeah, he had a list of targets they found in his body, and the first one was his ex-wife, who was in Minnesota, whom he killed earlier. And then next on his trail was Professor Klug, his biomechanics professor. And then after that, he planned to kill a woman, a professor at UCLA, who she's okay, and I don't know who she is. They didn't release her name, but apparently she knows. An ABC reporter on campus told me that she has been notified that she was on the list next, and he had a bunch of other people on the list, and his only request to police on the note found in his body was the only one that I know of was that he told them to check on his cat.
Oh my gosh.
After they found him, yeah.
Just so random.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's horrible. We had a similar thing go on that wasn't really widely known about, but we had a potential school shooting locally, and there was, again, a list of students that they were going to target, and I don't know how it was handled at UCLA, but the way it was handled, it was a local high school up here, and the people found out that the shooting was being planned, and they allowed the students that they suspected to continue to go to school and ride the bus home with the other kids and the rest of it, and they didn't take care of it until it was almost too late. And so it's really a concern to me, especially in California, that we have all these strict gun laws, yet just basic common sense things like, well, the kids that are suspecting going to be participating in a shooting on campus, you just let them go. So I don't know if there were situations like that with UCLA, like did they suspect this guy or not? But it kind of raised eyebrows to me.
Yeah, well, there was nothing they could have done. UCLA's a gun-free zone, so.
And obviously,
that didn't stop him.
Criminals check those gun-free zone signs before they do anything.
Yeah, of course. Maybe he missed the sign.
He did.
When he was coming. Yeah, and he's not even here at UCLA anymore. So, yeah. And the funny thing is how gun rights advocates use this incident to say that there should be increased gun control, and they also say that, well, you should leave it up to the police. The police should be notified and come and protect him with their ammo, which is, it's not true, because this guy, there's no way that they could have expected him to be there and have the police there within seconds of Starcom showing up. I mean, we can't say what could have stopped the incident, but at least if he had the opportunity to defend himself, there may have been less of this conversation going on.
Right, yeah. It's a real shame. Thanks a lot, California. So let's begin with our topic for today. I get a lot of questions from people every year. People in a panic. They're going crazy. How do we figure out our ballot? It's too complicated. There's like 15,000 senators to choose from. What do we do? Kelly, just post your ballot and we'll copy it. So I'm going to explain. I'm hoping that this will explain to people just how you cannot freak out about your ballot. And we are going to start with talking about the senator's election. So let's start with Aaron. Who did you pick, and how did you come to that conclusion for senator?
Well, I went with Tom Del Beccaro. I haven't actually voted yet, but I will be voting on Tuesday. But I'm going to vote for Tom Del Beccaro. I've actually seen him speak in person. He spoke to my local Republican Party chapter back in East Bay, and I came away pretty impressed by him. He's pretty well known in those circles as well. Certainly a true conservative, and the fact is we're going to have to unite behind one Republican candidate, because if we don't, then we're going to be stuck with two Democrats in the elections in November. Because people don't understand that we have what's called a top two primary system here, which means that, come Tuesday, all the senators are all on one ballot, and the top two, the top 200 votes are going to face off in November. Right now, the polls show that the top two are leftist Democrats. Kamala Harris is is the leader at like 26, and then I think at like 14 is Loretta Sanchez. They're both like pretty, hardcore leftist Democrats. Loretta Sanchez a little less so, but unfortunately there's so many Republicans running that that they're all getting like 4% of the vote, and we're going to be stuck with 2 Democrats this election cycle unless everybody psychs CNET behind Tom Del Beccaro on Tuesday.
So, Stephen, I know you told me you're too young to vote, but did you come to a similar conclusion as Ben?
Yeah. Tom Del Beccaro, I was reading over the voter guide, and I definitely think he's probably the most conservative, and I agree with Aaron that we should probably, or you guys, I guess, because I can't vote, but should unite behind him, because the top 2 are splitting the vote, and then Loretta Sanchez and Kamala Harris, they'll be the only 2, like Aaron was saying. And I think that's problematic.
Yeah, it's really a shame to me that so many people are uninformed about the Senate race, and they just start picking the names. I was talking to somebody that I work with, and I was very disappointed that they were saying, yeah, I can't remember that name, but she had a really great ad on TV. It was just this phenomenal ad with this really respected businesswoman, and they were saying that she was just so great, and it started with a K, and I'm like, no, not Kamala Harris. Why are you doing this? So it's a shame that we need to have people understand who they should vote for, and I think that the system is set up when they overload it with so many candidates that it's supposed to overwhelm you. But just for the audience's sake, when you have this list of candidates and it's so long and it's multi-party, just go and take a piece of paper and write down all the ones that are not Democrats or independents, to basically all the Republicans, because they're the only ones that can be molded or shaped in any way, and then the list gets a lot smaller. But I'm so excited to have Kyle on today. I haven't seen you in 3 years. My gosh!
Oh, it's been a long time.
It's been forever. So let's jump right into this. How did you end up voting on the Senate candidate? Who did you vote for and why?
I marked. I'm gonna obviously cast a vote for Tom Del Beccaro. To me, that just seemed like a no-brainer. There's a lot of other. I mean, obviously, you guys are probably aware of this, the other Republicans that are running, but I have friends Republican friends that are live in my town, and they are. For some reason, they're voting for Duff Sondheim, and I don't understand that because they claim to be conservatives, and to me, it's between Duff Sondheim and between Tom Del Beccaro, which are the ones that have been in the debates so far. It just seems that it should be obvious that the conservative choice is Tom Del Beccaro. I don't know why that Duff Sondheim is going to be a conservative. I mean, the man supports many views, actually, that I think there was a moment in the debate where he actually agreed with Loretta Sanchez on I forgot which issue it was, but they have, some similar. So I don't consider him a conservative at all. So I'll be voting for Tom Del Beccaro for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what chance he has, but
Right. Yeah.
That's the
thing that really tipped it I'm also voting the same way. My representative endorsed him. He was very consistent several times, and so just the fact that he endorsed him, I was like, okay, I'm going to look at this guy first. So again, for the audience's sake, look at the endorsements first, and then you can kind of rule out other people. If you see Republicans being endorsed by Democrats, for heaven's sake, stay away from them. So there was a couple of different endorsements, and then for heaven's sakes, also Tom Del Beccaro was endorsed by Bandler, and that just was the last straw for me. So there you go. So let's move on from the Senate race. I want to have Pardes come to the same conclusion, or did you do somebody else?
Sorry, Yeah, no. Same with me. From what I know, he is the most conservative candidate. So I would be voting for him unless I find out otherwise. And honestly, I don't think that I would be voting for anyone that I don't know enough about. I think that just as a millennial, this is my first time voting. I think it's important that we do stay away from the polls unless we are sure of about the candidates that we are casting a vote in for.
Yeah, don't be a low info voter.
So I do plan on understanding the candidates a little better before I vote for them.
Yeah. All right. So that I want to skip ahead to the measure. All of us, obviously, except for maybe Aaron and Pardes, have this different ballots. So let's just do the state measure next on Proposition 50. And that's the suspension of legislative and constitutional amendment. Let's put on our political scientist hats and read this horrendous thing. It authorizes the legislature to suspend members, including without salary and benefits, prohibits suspended members from using powers of office or legislative resources, provides suspension may end on a specified date or by vote of members' house, fiscal impact no effect on state spending in most years, minor state savings in some years, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's start with Kyle on this one. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on why this is even an issue and why this is on the ballot?
Yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, this was proposed because of the three state senators from the Democrat Party that were found a couple years back to have some criminal issues.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they've been dealt with, the measure has stayed on the ballot, and now we're looking at it. At least as a conservative, there's no need for this at all. Because the measure doesn't even talk about to the extent what the criteria would be, what actual criteria would be used in order to determine whether or not someone is going to be punished. What does that punishment look like?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there are, we've already seen, that they've developed this to kind of say, okay, look at us, we're going to fix this, we're going to make sure this type of thing never happens again, where we have state senators being turned into criminals and having issues there, and yet now that they have been dealt with, there's really no reason that there are ways in place that the parties deal with their own members, when there's a criminal violation that takes place. So I see it as just a way for, to have it on the ballot. I see it as a way for the state senate and the state assembly to try to punish people that they want to. And in the case for Republican members of the California State Assembly and the California State Senate, that's a bad thing, because then if there's no specific criteria for being able to punish someone, then they basically can develop whatever criteria they want and say, oh, in the name of whatever the reason is, we're going to punish, this member of, and likely it'll be more Republicans than Democrats, because we all know Sacramento Democrats love to punish Republicans and love to play the corruption card. So I see it as being a real mistake if this passes.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, what do you think about that? Do you think
my view is different from Kyle's. So, just a little. To add a little bit to the background of the criminal stuff he was referring to, that was Leland Yee a couple years ago, who was found guilty of selling illegal assault weapons to terrorist groups. Mm-hmm. And he's like a big gun control guy. So obviously there's all kinds of bad stuff there. And it's great material for us conservatives to use. But what happened in the case of Leland Yee and a couple of other Democrat state senators was that the legislature already has the power to suspend members of the legislature, but they still get paid. And to me, if this were anyone in the private sector, anybody who deals with criminal charges that are as serious as something like selling illegal weapons to terrorist groups or whatever, they would be suspended without pay. And so it's just only common sense that same standard applies to the state legislature. Leland Yee should not have been paid while he was being suspended. While he was suspended for under those charges. It's just kind of stupid that even happened. So I just think it's common sense. So I'll be voting for it on Tuesday.
Stephen, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah. So I kind of agree with Kyle a little bit more. I would say that it falls back on the voter when it comes to reprimanding the person who's representing them. I just have an issue with people from different counties who are representing different people now reprimanding other people's representatives. I feel like the reprimand comes from the party and it comes from the voters, and it doesn't come from other senators who don't have any bearing on those two. And also, the criteria is a little weak and a little vague for reprimanding somebody. And there's 26 Democrats and 14 Republicans. That's one or two votes away, I think, from two-thirds majority. And so if they voted along party lines, and so I'd have a problem with that if Democrats can team up together and start reprimanding Republicans in the same way, in a bad way. But
Pardes, where do you fall in line with that?
I can agree with all of Kyle, Steven, and Aaron's sentiments, but I don't know enough about the proposition to offer my own thoughts
Okay.
on it. So I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to misguide information.
Yeah. My initial knee-jerk reaction was to agree with Kyle, and then I thought, no, Kelly, you're being too conspiratorial. And so I was waffling on it and thinking, well, maybe it's okay, maybe it's not. But I always naturally want to vote no on everything. I don't trust them. But I ended up voting no because the bottom line, it was too vague, and I saw it as, while it may be common sense, I see it as more of a way for them to punish Republicans. Say a Republican is like a deciding vote on something in some fantasy world, maybe, and then the Democrats come up to them and say, well, if you don't vote this way, we're gonna suspend you because we were too vague on this issue, blah blah blah. So I just don't try. I didn't see any need for it. So that was my evaluation there.
Well, I hope I don't sound conspiratorial. That's not.
You're very conspiratorial.
That's not the goal. I do actually, Aaron. I think I do agree with him a lot in the sense of, I mean, it is an issue of payment, and that here I can see. And I don't think that the intent of this was to say, was for the Democrats in Sacramento to say, now we're going to have a way to punish Republicans. But I think the tool that, if passed, so that they ever wanted to. It wasn't like this was the point of it, but it was more like, if we have this in our toolbox, then someday if we ever wanted to punish someone, we could, because we have justification for it.
Yeah, I don't think its purpose on paper, like you said, is to use it as a weapon. But I think that with Democrats in charge, everything is going to be used as a weapon in whatever form it takes, whether it's lawful or not.
Right.
So that's me and my conspiracy. Aaron, you're the lone survivor on this one.
Apparently. Look, I just don't see. I mean, they already have the power to suspend and expel members. They haven't exactly been using it against us. So, in this case, it's only making sure that people can be suspended without pay. So, I just don't see it as. I just don't see any real world examples of Democrats suspending Republicans just because they don't vote the same way. But I mean, there have been times where they've had 2/3 of the state legislature and they haven't reprimanded Republicans just for not voting that way, and they frankly wouldn't need to because they have 2/3 majority, so they can basically pass whatever they want. So I just, again, like I said, the same standard the same practices the private sector has should also be applied to the state legislature. I mean, like I said, Leland Yee should not have been paid, while he was dealing with those charges, and then a couple of the other senators. Let's see, one of them, this guy Wright, Rod Wright, had already been convicted of 8 felonies. And so forth. So there's no reason why any of these people should have been paid. I mean, I think that's something everybody should agree on. That somebody who is a felon shouldn't be in legislation to begin with, but if they're going to be suspended, they shouldn't be paid. That's how it works in the private sector. It should apply to the state legislature as well.
All right, so our audience can decide. You've heard some excellent arguments, and quite frankly, in the words of Donald Trump, Aaron never loses an argument. So
That's correct.
even though the rest of us may be against him, he may be right in the end. So I would give
I always am.
equal. You are not always. I would give equal consideration to both sides of this argument. All right. So for local elections, obviously we are not all in the same locality. So if there is anything on the ballot that you guys want to bring up that you think is particularly important to talk about, feel free, and let it be known that this live stream goes out all over the place. So come up with something that you think is relevant to a large number of people, I guess. Is there anything, Kyle? I know you're like jumping at the bit all the time. So is there something?
I always have a lot to say, but I don't want to like overbear.
No. I've been dying for you to be on this show for like ever. So go for it.
Well, so for those that are not aware, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I live in a town called Fremont, California, which is on the East Bay. It's just about a half hour north of San Jose. And so we have, in the Bay Area, we have this measure. It's called Measure AA. So for any of the listeners or viewers that are voting here in the Bay Area, you're probably going to find a Measure AA. What it is it's the San Francisco, let me get the right title. It's the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority measure. And basically, attempting to protect the San Francisco Bay for future generations by reducing trash and pollution. It's one of these environmental measures. It's heavily supported by U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, and so of course anything that she supports, I am opposed to. But I mean, more than that, what grinds my gears about this, and this is what they do in a lot of these measures, as you probably have seen, is that the wording is so convoluted and it's so twisted to convince people that it's in their best interest. And actually what this measure is going to do is it's going to assess a parcel tax of $12 per year on each parcel, and so that's going to it's a tax increase basically. So I would encourage anyone living in the Bay Area, vote no on Measure AA. If you live in Fremont, which I probably, Callie, I'm guessing you have a small audience in Fremont, but the Fremont Unified School District here is also trying to raise taxes for they're trying to raise property taxes for more school funding. So that I would also encourage Fremont listeners to vote no. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I hope you feel better about getting that off your chest.
Yes, I'm glad I get it off my chest.
Yes. Stephen, is there anything on your ballot that you wanted to share with everyone that you feel strongly about?
Not really, other than voting for Scott Jones for my district for the House of Representatives against Amy Farah.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't really have a measure that's going on in Sacramento right now that I can think of.
Yeah, I didn't have any in my area either. Although I'm just going to take a minute and shout out my representative, Tom McClintock. He's fantastic.
He's awesome.
There's your plug, Mr. McClintock. I appreciate you being nice to me at all of your events. All right, so Aaron, let's go to Pardes next. Pardes, is there anything on your ballot that you would like to talk about locally?
No, not yet.
Okay. Aaron, I don't know if you and Pardes have the same ballot, but
we do. But I mean, I'm from East Bay too, like Kyle, so I'm familiar with Measure AA, and I agree. I vote no. It's just on the principle that, you know, anytime they do some sort of like special sales tax for this initiative, it never actually goes to that initiative. It's just their own kind of slush way to raise more money for slush fund to give to their cronies, the Democrat Party. So, yeah, vote no. As a rule of thumb, yeah, if Feinstein's for it, like, vote against it. That's a good rule of thumb to live by.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the presidential election, and I just want to mourn for a minute. I have a lot of people convinced to vote for Ted Cruz, and because even though it doesn't matter, just vote in the primary. Obviously, it doesn't matter at this point who you vote for. But I don't know why so many of those people I had convinced to vote for Ted Cruz said, well, now that he's out, I'm just going to vote for Trump. It's just so sad and frustrating to me. So, I want to bring it over to your end. What does the current situation look like? Republican convention coming up and Trump's beating Hillary in November. Does it look good for him? Does it look bad? Where are we at with the polls?
Who are you asking that to?
You.
To me. Okay, sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. There's some announcer in the background that makes it hard to hear you. So
Sorry, that was. Sorry.
So I didn't catch all that. Can you maybe repeat that?
Yeah. I just want to. Okay. I just want to know. What does it look like with the situation with the Republican convention? Does it look like Trump can beat Hillary? Is he doing poorly? Is he doing well? What do the polls look like right now?
Well, right now they're pretty close. And although I would caution people that it's pretty common that after a candidate wraps up the primary that they get a post victory bump in the polls. And right now Hillary is still dealing with Bernie Sanders, and that's become really vicious and nasty, which is entertaining to watch. And so there's obviously some problems there that she has to take care of. But once she does wrap this up, and she will, because she's like 57 delegates away from doing so. She'll probably see a bump in the polls as well. And I'm not sure that Trump could probably recover from it. I mean, there's a chance that he still could, just because Hillary's just that bad of a candidate, and he dominates the media coverage. So there is a chance that Trump could pull this off, certainly. But I'm skeptical because his unfavorables are so sky high with key demographics from women to independent voters to the middle class Rust Belt voters in these states like Ohio, Pennsylvania. In Michigan, he's losing to Hillary, and those were supposed to be his strength, and the main reason that he could be the only candidate that could beat Hillary in November. So I would say right now it's 60-40 in favor of Hillary to win in November. But I mean, this election cycle is so crazy that Trump could actually pull it off. But for now, I'm skeptical.
You're always skeptical. I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. You have no faith, Aaron. All right. So,
I wouldn't say no faith, but realistic.
You're a pessimistic, horrible person. And I
Obviously.
Can't stand you, clearly. Okay. So I want to open up the floor because I know the presidential campaign has been very depressing, and so if anybody needs to say anything of how they feel about Donald Trump, how they feel as a millennial being forced to choose between these two terrible candidates. I think it was yesterday on Twitter I called it the Kobayashi murder test, and for those of you who watch Star Trek, you'll know what that means, a no-win situation. So, for Kyle and Pardes and Stephen, would you like to, do you have anything you'd like to say about the election and how you feel having to choose between these two candidates?
Yeah, I mean, for me it's kind of a shame because it's my first time being able to vote, and I don't even know if I'll be able to use this. I've got my ballot over here. I don't even know if I'll be able to use my ballot. So it is a shame, and I don't think that Trump will win over Hillary necessarily, just because I think he needs something to push him there, which would either be something like a major terrorist attack, something that would spike up the sensationalism among his voters, among populist voters. So either something like a terrorist attack or a Wall Street crash, something unpredictable, just like that.
Or if Hillary gets indicted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. For sure.
Or if she gets a health scare. Or reports come out about her lesbian lovers. I mean, there are a number of ways where something like that could push Trump over the edge. But it's all speculation because we don't know what the future entails.
Yeah, and like Aaron said, the elections have been so unpredictable thus far that there isn't anything that we can predict at this point.
Stephen, did you want to talk about Trump?
I mean, yeah. Part of what the other day saying to him a little bit about his inconsistency on stuff like that, and I think that she's been kind of holding back getting through this primary, trying to keep Bernie under her wing and make sure he doesn't steal it away, circa 2008 Obama. But no, and so she was trying to keep that down, but now that she kind of sees that she's going to clinch it up, she's now shifting to him, and it was pretty hard hitting, some of the things that she was saying when she gave that speech the other day. And I think that I can't vote for this. Never Trump has kind of appealed to me a little bit because I don't think that he represents all of what I believe in, and I don't think he represents all of what most of us believe in. I don't know where everybody stands on the issue, but and I don't want to speak for you, sorry. But for that, I don't know. I feel like Donald Trump doesn't put forth the conservative message that I think is important for America.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, how do you feel about Trump? I think we lost your audio, Kyle.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. What I was saying is that there's a lot there. There's a lot of feeling there, but I think overall, like if you look at this whole primary season, and actually it's funny because this is something that I know that even like people like Mark Levin say a lot too. It's a real disappointment. It's been a real travesty to see how we had like a huge as the GOP, as conservatives, and just the GOP, we had an opportunity here to really explain, to kind of like, because Obama's going out, and we had a kind of a fresh slate. We're not going against Obama, we're going against someone new. We had a fresh chance to explain the Constitution, to explain liberty, to explain these things, these values that we have as Americans, that are in the best interest of people. And there were people certainly that tried to do that. Ted Cruz, of course, fought every day trying to make that message. And yet, ever since last summer, it's just been, the media has been overwhelmed with Donald Trump. And we never had a chance to really explain what conservatism, what conservative principles are about. And so I think it's a real shame for the GOP, because there's so many of us, there's so many millennials our age, there's so many people that are not our age but they still think like-minded of us, and we're frustrated and we're upset, and frankly, you asked about Donald Trump's electability against Hillary. I'd have to agree with Aaron and with Padres, or is it Pardes? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Padres baseball team.
I get that all the time.
There. But I'd have to agree with that. I see him losing to her in a big way, because I think a lot of people that, especially Cruz supporters, a lot of people that are upset with him are going to stay home. They're not. It's going to be Mitt Romney 2012 again, except this time for different reasons. And it's just a shame. It's a shame, because we're gonna end up, at the end of the day, we're gonna end up with progressivism. Either it's gonna be someone who's a statist, or someone who's a nationalist, populist, agrarian type. And but either solution, or not either solution, but either option is going to present an advance in the size of the federal government. And so it's a shame. And that's how I feel. I feel like Donald Trump has he's hijacked this party. No longer is it the party of Reagan. No longer is it the party of Lincoln, or Eisenhower, or Coolidge. It's the party of Trump, and everyone is there saying, you better get in line. You better join the Trump train. you better join us or get out of the way. You know, even
You're a traitor if you don't.
yeah, exactly. You're a traitor. You're a sellout.
You're a cuck if you don't, right?
Right, exactly. And it's like no, you know, we are not. It's like Captain America says, you know, Captain America says in the war prospect, he's saying like, no, it doesn't matter what the press says or what the politicians say. It's about the values that make us Americans, that make us love our Constitution, love our country. And it's like what's even been more upsetting is to see person after person that we respected in the conservative movement, in the Tea Party, people like Sarah Palin, people like Jeff Sessions, to see one after another. Newt Gingrich, to some extent, I actually admired the man to some extent.
I bet him too. Yeah.
Right. But just how quickly they are the ones that have sold out. They've sold out their principles. They've sold out their conservatism. And I don't know if I personally can even think to ever support them ever again. You know, Sarah Palin preaches that she wants to have unity in the party, and then she goes out and says that she's going to declare war on Paul Ryan. You know, and it's like, what kind of unity?
Well, to be fair, he does deserve it, though.
Right, that's true. And then of course he went and supported him.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just thinking, it's like, what kind of unity do we have in this party when we have the two previous vice presidential candidates at war with each other? You know, and it's like, I don't know. I think it's just been a travesty to watch everything unfold. But I will say the silver lining, I feel like, is that now we can see who is the real conservatives and who are the people that are just wishy-washy, you know, and that who were deceiving us into believing that they were conservatives. Now we've had this litmus test to see, and now we know.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. So the other thing, kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about was this idea that Trump is destroying the media. I think that that's a farce. I think that Trump is rebuilding the media, but people keep selling Trump as, oh, but he's sticking it to the media and he's going after the media and he's really hitting them hard. But then you look at Sean Hannity that had his show moved after the 2012 election, had his show moved to what is called the death slot at 10 o'clock. And for the first time, it's finally finding ratings again. It was plummeting before. So I think that Trump is rebuilding the media that we have so long tried to destroy, and I'd like to know, we'll start with Aaron on this one. I'd like to know what you guys think about that.
I mean, certainly what makes Trump appealing as a candidate is that he does fight back against, you know, the leftist media smears, and that's definitely a lot of people like him. The problem, okay, so earlier this week, what was that press conference he had where he basically just tears into the media? You know, he calls, you know, Tom Lamas from ABC as sleaze, and then he berates Major Garrett from CBS News and so forth. It's pretty irritating to watch. You know, Rush Limbaugh said it was like it's the press conference we've all been waiting for. But you know, as I think Mark Levin said, it's like, yeah, it's entertaining, but what did we really learn from it? Like, it's really nothing. You know, or like, yeah, the media sucks, they're stupid. We all knew that already, and yeah, it's cool to have somebody call them out on it. But you know, I think that whole press conference was about Trump's donations to the veterans. And it's like Ben said in a column on our site, The Daily Wire, it's like the media were actually right on this because Trump hasn't really. Well, he didn't give the $6 million in donations to the veterans like he said he would until like the media called him out on it, and so they were actually right on this one. And that's the problem with Trump. It's like, yeah, he does go after the media, but then he kind of, you know, he fights them against their smears, but then he lies. Then he comes up with his own lies and own smears against candidates, and then perpetuates them, and then the media repeats them verbatim, and that was a big problem that Ted Cruz had to deal with throughout the primaries. So it's really unfortunate that that the one candidate that we have that actually does fight back against the media is also, you know, a liar and smears conservatives just like the media does. And yeah, like Kyle was saying earlier, yeah, we missed out on a big opportunity to explain conservatism and liberty in this election. Like, I would love to have, if Donald Trump really were a conservative or a good candidate, he would call press conferences to actually explain liberty, to explain the Constitution and capitalism. But he's not going to do it because he doesn't believe in any of those things. And so, yeah, so I mean, as Kyle was saying, this whole election really became a travesty and a really blown opportunity for us to take back the country.
Pardes, what do you think about Trump's relationship with the media? Do you think he helps them, or do you think he hurts them?
I definitely think he helps them. I think that regardless of where his funding comes from or how he spends his money, he has definitely bought the media in the sense that he has gotten the most coverage than any candidate has ever had. And the way he plays the media is he panders himself as this honest candidate, and like Aaron said, he does not care about any conservative values. He's not representing Republicans in the way that he said that he would, and he's only being rewarded by the media for that, and has helped his, obviously the way that the ratings have been working out for major news networks like Fox and NBC and CNN. I think that he has helped them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's this general notion through the conservative we all agree. And so Trump can use that to his advantage. He likes the media. I mean, Trump is nowhere without Fox News a couple of years ago, and Trump is nowhere without the media cycle this election. But I think that so he puts on this facade to get the voters to like him, that he's against the media and he's bashing them, but he really wants their attention, and the media love him too. I mean, the media's ratings go skyrocketing whenever they cover him, and that's why he's dominated the entire media cycle for the entire election. And I think that it puts him in a great spot, because if the media say something that's true about him that reflects poorly on him, you could just go, oh well, they're lying, like they normally do about conservatives. But they're actually telling the truth. They're talking about Trump, and so I don't know. I feel like that's his main draw, is he's hitting the right people, but not for the right reason. And I think that's where he's getting most of his.
Kyle, did you have anything to say about the media and Trump and their love fest?
Yeah, I agree with all three of you guys. And yeah, I think that, and I agree with Pardes in the sense that, like, he has definitely helped the media, because one, he has not only do their ratings spike, but he certainly has helped Fox News. That's why they love him so much. But he's helped them with their ratings. He's helped CNN, because so many people that hate Fox News are now watching CNN. So he definitely has helped transfer some viewership to CNN. But more than that, I think that he has, it's all about. I think that people criticize certain media anchors and certain media hosts, but I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that it's all, some of it is planned. Not all of it, but I would say that some of it is, it's kind of just understood, like, oh, yes, he can criticize me because we're going to get good ratings for our network. These are what some of the anchors are thinking, because not all of them hit back. Some of them do, but not all of them. But I do think, yeah, that he's definitely helped the media. He's helped, I think, a lot of people, a lot of these anchors that are like Sean Hannity. Like you were saying, Kelly, like Sean Hannity was about to be on the deathbed. His show was losing viewership, and now he has, he's gaining, I guess, ratings. I don't know why people listen to him, to be honest, but apparently that's the trend. So I think that he helps him. But one key point I just want to point out is that he is the establishment. He wants to claim he's not establishment, but he is establishment, and that's why I think, for instance, Fox News likes him so much, because Rupert Murdoch You know, he's in bed with the Karl Roves and the Mitch McConnells and the establishment. As much as they may have decried Trump at the beginning, they like him. That's why you see all these people warming up to him now that he is he's here. And so, of course, there's this natural relationship between the establishment media and Trump, because Trump really at heart is an establishment figure. You know, and even you think about our election here in California, like, he has donated so much, not just to the Republican establishment, but even to the liberal establishment, the Democrat establishment. He's donated to Kamala Harris. He's donated to Loretta Sanchez. He's donated to, you know, almost... Yeah, exactly. And so it's very natural to see. I think it shouldn't be a surprise. I think it's very natural to see, even with his personality too, you know, to see this relationship form between the establishment media and the establishment candidate that is Trump, you know.
Well, I actually read that, like, I think Rupert Murdoch's son-in-law, who runs, like, the Observer, set up a meeting between Trump and Murdoch, and that's how the whole, like, love affair started, and how Fox went from being a Rubio super PAC to a Trump super PAC. And the fact is that it's not just Hannity. I mean, yeah, Hannity's certainly, like, the first person that comes to mind, just because he's, you know, for years he's always been, like, this, you know, this trusted mouthpiece for conservatism, and now all of a sudden he just throws all that out the window for Trump. But it's not just him. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, like, sounds like Chris Matthews more and more. You know, talk about Trump being, like, the most important political story in his lifetime. You know, it sounds like his tingle up his leg. You know, Eric Bolling, also another person that applies to. Greta Van Susteren, too. It's like every time Trump had, like, a rally, like, Fox live streams it. They never did that for Cruz or anyone else in the primary. And yeah, I mean, it's and I think a lot of that has to do not just with Murdoch, but also because I mean, Fox News is headquartered in New York, and a lot of those hosts there are tight with Trump because they're also from New York. I mean, you hear Hannity and O'Reilly say to Trump, you know, I've known you for years and so forth. And I think that's a big part of it too. And yeah, it's sad because I mean, I used to defend Fox News a lot because, you know, being a journalism major at Cal Poly, I mean, I would hear Fox News bashed a lot by my professors, and I'd always stick up for them. And now I can't do it anymore. You know, I think it really gives me no pleasure to say this, but I think CNN is more balanced than Fox is. That's not to say that CNN is fair all the time, because they're not. But if you look at like when they have, like, you know, debates with contributors, they have, you know, they'll have, like, Amanda Carpenter, who's a bona fide conservative, you know, former Ted Cruz communications director. Then you'll have Jeff Lord, conservative but also a Trump supporter. And you'll have, like, S.C. Cupp, another conservative who's more establishment. So right there, right off the bat, you have more diversity with those three than you do on Fox, where it's just all Trump all the time. Yeah. You know, and it's and that's actually why I think about a month or two ago I read that CNN had higher ratings than Fox did. It was like the first time in years that's happened. So I guess in Fox's case, you reap what you sow.
Right. It's like a love-hate relationship.
It really is, yeah.
It is.
It's really funny to see Sean Hannity with his serious crush on Trump. I'll be attending the wedding. I'm still waiting for the proposal. I don't know if you saw the picture of Hannity with just, like, the loving look on his face. Looking
oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, the funniest thing was, I don't know if you guys know who Randy Barnett is, but he's a professor at, like, I think George Mason University, like a big constitutional professor. And he said on Twitter once, he said, I wish my wife looked at me the way Sean Hannity looks at Donald Trump. And then Hannity tweeted at him and called him a jackass.
Oh.
Of course.
I just thought that was hilarious. It's just,
we all used to have such respect for Sean Hannity.
We all did, yeah. Not anymore.
I used to listen to him every day, driving home from school or whatever it was. I used to listen to him all the time. I was listening to him the day after the 2012 election, and that was, I think, my last time ever listening to him. Okay, so we're going to kind of wrap it up now with shout-outs, and I'm going to shout out at Ben Shapiro. Thank you for almost taking my question on your podcast the other day. I appreciated the mention at the beginning anyway. I want to shout out at David Limbaugh. Thank you again for taking notice in my live stream, and I hope to have you on as soon as possible. And I want to shout out at Josh Eisen, and for heaven's sakes, I will get you on the live stream, but I do have a waiting list of people that have been asking, so don't panic. You will be on. I am, all of a sudden. I can't imagine why. So if anybody else has people they want to shout out, then now is your chance, or forever hold your peace.
I'm gonna start with a shout out to my brother, who had went to the finals tournament for his ultimate frisbee team in North Carolina, and they didn't quite pull it off, but they came close, and so that's still a cool experience. So congrats, buddy. I'm happy that you got to do that. And then I'd like to give a shout out to my sports teams right now, to the Sharks and the Warriors for making it to their respective finals. And Sharks had a great overtime win last night. Warriors up 1-0 in the NBA Finals and playing tonight. So just shout out to Bay Area sports teams. It's where it's at right now.
Yep.
You're such a nerd.
Well,
What am I gonna do with you?
shout out to my dad for helping me build this nice set here that I have going on, and for helping me last night and with the lighting and the microphone. He bought this nice microphone, and that's who I want to shout out to.
There you go. Pardes, I think for some reason your audio got turned off.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I just turned it back on.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
I want to make a shout out to the Bruin Standard, UCLA's right center newspaper, at the TBS UCLA. So it's on Twitter at TBS UCLA, the Bruin Standard.
Okay, I'm already following, so I would highly recommend you go follow everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
Kyle, do you have anybody to shout out?
I guess my only shout out that I can think of is shout out to the Mark Levin show and also to Live
Yeah.
In. If you guys have not live, I don't know if you guys have seen Live In TV or not yet, but if you
Yeah,
like
it's
Mark
great.
Levin,
I love it.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So if you like Mark Levin, I'd say his TV show is probably just as good as his radio show. So it's a good investment.
Well, anything he does is just fantastic.
That's
So
true.
just follow him, follow his show, follow both his shows. Mark Levin's my hero. So
Yeah.
I actually got to see him speak about a couple weekends ago. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I got to meet him last summer at a book signing.
Nice. Was it the Reagan Library?
Yeah, it was the Reagan Library.
Nice. Yeah, I met him too. Not last summer, but back in 2012. Yeah, right when Maritopia came out, I got to go to the Reagan Library and meet him. I got to meet him again too at when Liberty Amendments came out at Tyson's Corner in Virginia, because I was working in DC at the time. And then I've seen him speak a couple other times since then. So it's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
I knew you would fall in love with each other because you both have a very serious crush on Mark Levin.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting for this moment, and that's why I'm laughing. Okay, so we are gonna go off the air, and I thank all my guests for coming. I really appreciate you guys showing up. And I want to give a shout out also to at Amanda Presto and at Harry126. They wanted to be here, but I have to keep a limit on the number of guests. So they will be here on the next one, and they will have pretty much the whole thing to themselves. And I promise you guys, I know you were upset, but you don't need to be upset next time. So be happy, like me. Okay? So we are going to go off the air right now.